GSP, man, what must have been great training him. He seems just like the perfect student.
He's more than, I mean, I learned a lot from him, you know, the way he trains, the things he does. He's been training since he's a kid, you know, since he's 5 years old.
He still trains regularly, right?
He still trains regularly.
Like last time I seen him, we were still training all the time. But he's a true martial artist.
Yeah, no, it's part of his personality. I don't think he could ever stop.
No, exactly. It's who he is. With him, his like distancing and timing is just like the best I've ever like sparred with or fought. I think, you know, someone like MVP might have that same like that distancing, not with the takedowns, but like just that he understands that to a level I don't think I've ever felt.
Yeah, I think double legging is not too complicated. You can learn how to do the mechanics of a double leg in 2 years, 3 years. You know how to do the follow ups. It's not too complicated. It's the timing. It's the setting up the opening. And I think George's karate footwork, from doing it from such a young age, that in and out zigzagging, allowed him to set up his takedowns, because I think in terms of MMA takedowns, I think he was the best.
Yeah, I agree, which he didn't wrestle. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I mean, he wrestled some after he had that Russian coach. Unfortunately, I don't know his name, but he had a really good Russian coach up there in Canada.
Victor Zilberman.
Yeah.
Victor Zilberman.
Yeah. Thanks. I didn't know his name. He deserves some credit. I think he never gets credit. I know George does, but that guy helped. A lot of it was George's own timing, but that guy helped him quite a bit. But he never officially wrestled, and he has the best jiu-jitsu just takedown MMA. I think it's insane. He just has that timing of that blast double.
He's got an incredible explosiveness and also incredible timing, and he knows the techniques very well. You know, he's a very good student in terms of like, if his coaches ask him for something, he'll rep it over and over again. He'll master it. He'll perfect it. So he had everything he needed. You know, the timing, the setup, the jabbing. You know, he was a very good jabber as well. So he had such a great setup to take down.
Jab. You know, like he has probably the best jab in UFC too. I remember when he first hit me the jab, man, it stung. I rarely feel a punch in a fight, but his jab had so much sting to it, because there's different types of punch. There's like that snapping versus the thud, and he has this like snap that just like jarred my head when I tried walking forward. Everyone's like, "Oh, why didn't you walk forward more aggressive?" It's like, man, he would stun me with that jab. So he's a hard guy to move forwards, you know. Yeah,
he has a blinding jab. Definitely, and he's got a long reach too. So
that's where he uses to control the distance, you know. And then find that timing for that blast double, and it's I said he must have just been an amazing guy to do his whole. You coached him through basically his whole career, right, or the majority of it?
Yeah. I was with him since his first pro fight. I was a training partner at first, and then I started becoming his trainer as well on the side. I was helping him with his striking, and then after the Sarah loss, I took the head coach role, because he had a fallout with his old head coach. His old head coach, he had a different vision for how to move forward after that loss, and I think George and him didn't agree, so they parted ways. And he asked me to be his full-time coach, you know, his head coach. So since then, we reformulated, because the thing is, back then there were so many different training philosophies. You know, there still is, of course, but back then we were really kind of still very new and trying to figure out how to do things, how to cross-train. You know, some people think it doesn't make sense to do a little bit of everything because you're not going to be good at anything. And, you know, there's all these competing philosophies. But at the end of the day, I think we have to formulate for what was best for George, because he already had such a great footwork. He had a long reach. So we're like, hey, let's formulate a style that you're comfortable with. Because his other coach, I think, wanted him to fight in a different way that George wasn't comfortable in. Yeah. His other coach wanted him to do more like infighting and stuff like that. But that's not really George's personality.
Athlete too, you know, and like he's a distance fighter. You have to realize what he's good at. Try to force him infighting, I think, would have been a bad move.
Yeah, like if you see his first fight with BJ, he tried to infight a little bit too much with BJ. And it didn't work for him.
Inside with BJ Penn, I need to rewatch that fight.
Yeah, you don't want BJ Penn near you.
I wouldn't have GSP and fight with BJ Penn. That's
he has this very powerful uppercut. He caught George with it in round 1. In their first fight, he broke George's nose. Like he really. So I mean, those were where he was getting hurt. So the rematch, you know, we're like, let's stay on the outside. Let's keep it in the karate distance where you've been your whole life. You know, like that's where he's comfortable. You know, BJ Penn is really good at the inside distance. He can really hurt you. Mm-hmm. Keep him in the karate stance. You know, karate distance. So it worked much better, just at making adjustments and whatnot. And I think we had more of that vision because I was more flexible in the way I want to do things, you know?
Yeah, because you can't, like we were saying earlier, you can't make a robot of you. You have to look at them, what their style is, what's going to work best for them. And that's what makes him better. And the GSP, he was probably also a massive help to launching your career as a trainer.
Of course.
Such a big superstar that made Tristar one of the gyms on the map. And it's pretty impressive. You had a huge longevity of that gym, that it's still like a top gym, because a lot of these gyms come and go really quick. So you're obviously doing something right there.
Yeah, I know. He was the leader of the gym for a very long time, of course, you know, because when he was active, like everybody surrounded him. He brought in sparring partners from all over. The more money he made, the more he invested in his fight camps, you know. So he brought in a lot of great trainers, a lot of world-class trainers. So of course, when those trainers would come in, I would go in as a student. You know, I wasn't like, oh no, I'm the trainer here and you're gonna do it. No, I wasn't like that. Like when these guys came in, when John Danaher came in, when the wrestling coaches came in, when Freddie Roach came in, I'm like, hey man, I'm your student. You tell us what you wanted to do and We'll do the legwork for you. You just direct. You know, we brought in a lot of great trainers from all over the world. And George would tell me, like, who do you want to train with? I'm like, oh, well, this guy, that guy. You know, like, I was like,
And
bring
you
in
fly 'em
Stephen
out.
Wonderboy
That's
Thompson.
great, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
bring
how
him.
the guy was great.
That's how we started. That's how he got started in MMA, because we're like, we're convincing him to do MMA. Wonderboy, who wasn't doing MMA before.
He was good, man.
And he was already a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. I was like, man, why didn't you do MMA? It's like, oh, well, the market was new then. You know, I think he would have jumped into it eventually in a way. But I was like, man, you could be a world champion. He was so slick on his feet, and he was already a purple belt.
He's hard to take down because you can't get a hold of him. His movement, his footwork, his timing. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important as a coach that you realize that you're always learning. Some guys' egos get in the way and they never become a great coach because they always want to act like they know everything. They want to look like their students know the answer. But you have to be able to learn from other people, to change your opinion, sometimes admit you're wrong. That's actually what makes a great coach, not pretending like you know everything.
Yeah. I think everybody gets a beating in the gym. It's not a big deal. You got to eat that humble pie. You know, it's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you better. And if I didn't do that, I don't think I would have lasted, to be honest with you. I would have got, like, you know, I would have fell behind. It would have been all like image, you know. No, it has to be. You have to know what you're doing in the practice room. Fighters know. They came in from out of the country. They have many fights. They know how to wrestle. They know how to punch. They know how to grapple. If you don't know what you're doing, they know right away. They notice it right away. You can't just like. I think it's easier to do it the right way than the wrong way. Like, to try to pretend you're a good trainer is harder than being actually a good trainer. Just get on the mat, man.
Yeah.
Put in the time and energy.
Keep learning, because the sport's new and changing, and things are always changing. You know, things are changing quick too. Like when I was fighting, no one was doing the calf kick. Now everyone's blasting the calf kick. Just things like that. Like, the sport is so new, you have to be adapting. The leg locks we were talking about earlier. If you're not staying up on the trends, you're going to fall behind as a coach quick.
Yeah. You gotta develop as the fighters develop as well, and the formula has to be retested all the time. And there's no, I think we're not even close to the peak of MMA. I think like in 10 years from now, we're gonna have guys who are so much better than what we have. Like when you look back at fights 10 years ago, look, the guys were the best in the world then, but now we have better training methods. We understand different things, you know, different positions even better. Like especially fence wrestling. Fence wrestling is changing so much so fast. We're figuring things out because there's nobody with 20 years of fence wrestling. Like, it's only the guys retiring now, but we're finding new ways to get the guys on the ground. You know,
recently refined my fence wrestling, so it's so much better than when I was fighting. I'm like, oh damn, I have like systems put together now. You know, I was good on the cage before, but I have like whole systems. Partially, I put together a few things I picked up from Donna here. It's like whole systems off the cage now. I'm like, wow, this is like, things are always being refined. Like I said, you got to always be learning, and now there's money in the sport, so more people could train. Now that, you know, it's hard making a living as a trainer, but you have an actual gym going, and you know, you've had some really good fighters. But it's something you do because you're loved. You definitely should not become a trainer for the money.
No, you should. Like,
you're probably one of the fortunate ones that's made some money doing it. But most trainers don't. You know, you're in a different situation, but most trainers, it's not something you get in for the money.
Look, when I started this thing, I was doing it for the love.
Yeah.
When George fought his first fight in UFC, he fought Cairo Parisian. We prepared for 4 months, and he made $3,000 to show and $3,000 to win. So he walked out with $6,000. Now, he was over the moon. He was super happy because he got to fight in UFC. Now, we weren't doing it for money. We got to go to Las Vegas. We got to you know travel. It was amazing. Now, at the time, I was thinking, look, I got to go to school. I got to earn a living eventually. You know, I got to put food on the table eventually. But I love the sport. Now the sport exploded. It got so much more popular, so much more money started coming in, and then they added more weight classes. The sport grew overnight in front of our eyes. Yeah. It was really incredible.
Yeah, we watched it just explode from like nothing to like real money and popularity.
But I always told myself that I'll never rely on the fighters for money. So for me, even with George, I only had a handshake deal. No contracts, no nothing. He would even tell me, ask your agent to get you more money. I'm like, no, I never rely on the fighters for money. I have my own businesses. I set myself up. I still do it because I love it. Now we're doing it on the big show. We're still doing it in UFC. But if that were to go away, I would still have my, you know.
could do something else. You have your gym. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You shouldn't do the sport when you stop loving it. Same way I tell fighters, you know, like a lot of people fight a little too long. You know, I probably fought a couple years where I kind of lost the love. And that's when you start losing. That's when you can get hurt. It's just too much on the line to be fighting if you don't love it.
Yeah, it's tough to fight when you have, it's all or nothing. You know, like your rent is on the line. Like, I don't like to fight like this. I don't want the guys to be fighting at this kind of, you know, under this kind of stress. So I didn't want to put extra stress on them by like, hey, you have to pay me this, you have to pay me that. I actually tell my fighters, if you don't make more than this amount, if you're not making this kind of big check, don't even worry about paying me. I'm going to invest in you. We're going to take our time. We're going to build until you're making this amount of money, and then pay what you want. Yeah. And I tell the guys, pay what you want. There's no contract. There's a handshake deal because I'm independent from them. You know, I don't want to be dependent on the fighter. And I feel that 99% of the fighters are going to happily pay
Yeah.
and the right amount that they think is right, and they feel that, you know, this amount is deserved. You help me win my fight. Okay, if I'm that good, you want to keep me around, pay me. If not, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. And I just find I've seen so many fighters
Fighting with coaches over money and stuff.
it's just crazy.
It's tough when you're trying to make it. You know,
Everybody wants more money all the time. Everybody thinks they deserve more money all the time. So I just tell guys, you know what? Look, I don't want anything. If you want to work with me, come. I tell guys, the more you come to the gym, the more I work with you. Like the more time, whoever has the biggest fight and comes to the gym most often.
You have to put in the work.
Yeah.
As the you know, if you want me to train you, guys have to come in consistently. And it's like, I'm not doing it for the money, but if you're not showing up on time, not missing workouts, I'm not going to be training these guys for free if they're not, you know, if they're not respecting my time.
You put the effort, I'll put the effort.